Yes, yes, here we are. 1.2. Gonna start talking about mostly just a little order of operation kind of stuff going on here with our algebraic expressions. I got your work down here. Practice problems that are gonna match what we're talking about today. You got quite a bit of them there, 15 through 37. All right, our vocab variable. Whenever we're talking about variable, those are all the letters that are stuck inside of our problem. The thing about variables, though, they're not just letters there to make your life miserable. They are actually standing for numbers. Just usually we don't know what those numbers are, and that's why we have to solve for them. But they're just kind of stand-in spaces for actual numbers. Exponents, those are things like 4 squared, the little 2 there, that is your exponent. It's a shorthand notation for repeatedly multiplying something. 4 squared, we should remember, is 4 times 4. And what that exponent does, it just counts up how many times you're multiplying it. Algebraic expression is just a bunch of stuff going on, but there is no equal sign, there's no greater than, there's no less than. It's kind of like you don't really have a full sentence, it's a sentence fragment. It's just a bunch of stuff, but you don't really get anywhere yet. And so what we're going to do today is kind of start looking at our order of operations and how we go through things. Um, Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally is probably the thing that you remember. The P standing for parentheses, but we got all kinds of stuff like absolute values and brackets and braces and things like that that we're going to deal with um, that go a little bit beyond parentheses. Your fraction bar, if we've got a whole bunch of stuff over some other stuff, the fraction bar separates things in that same kind of way. Um, Moving on down, we got our exponents. Anytime you've got square roots, squares, any of that kind of stuff. So that counts as your exponent, x squared, both of those two things. Then you got your multiply and your divide, and your add and subtract. What you need to remember, though, is the biggest thing is that your multiply and divide happen at the same time, and your add and subtract happen at the same time. So when you think about PEMDAS, I tend to write it P-E-M-D and then A-S because you start out with parentheses, then your exponents, and then we got to remember that these both happen at the same time, and that B's, both the A and the S, happen at the same time. Oh, and hey, it's the exact same thing I was just talking about. Look at that. Alright, so actually putting this stuff into action as we're working through these things. Um, Evaluating an expression, you want to make sure you take your x's and your y's and you plug them in into the right places. Sometimes, like right here, you got to plug into two spots. I love plugging things in with parentheses because parentheses are awesome. They keep you from screwing up your negative sign. This right here is very different than this. Both of these two different things here come out to different numbers. And if you don't use parentheses, all of a sudden this looks like 2 minus 9 rather than 2 times 9, which is what's going to work out here. So you want to use parentheses. It keeps your negative signs in order. Make sure you don't lose multiplication. So many amazing, great things happen when you plug in stuff with your parentheses. Alright, so we're here. We got to start working through order of operations stuff. Now, what I like doing also is I sort of underline or, kind of work out, hey, this is the step that I'm doing first. So we're going to start out inside of our grouping symbol, and this is the first thing we're doing. So 3 times 5 becomes the 15 right here. So what is it that we do next? Well, we need to still work inside our parentheses, and so this becomes what we do next and makes the 12. And we'll start working along here. Let's slide this on up. So what do we got to do next? Next we got to take care of exponents. So we're working right here. Negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3. And if you don't believe me, write it like this. Again, this is a good reason why we use parentheses, because this gives us our positive 9 here. And what do we do next? Multiplying. I'm going to multiply here and here. Gets me my 18, my 72. We still need to do that division. 72 divided by 2 makes that 36. And now we add and subtract left to right. Well, she went and added these two things. Oh, no, we didn't. No. Wrong. Subtracted here first. That 18 tricked me. 18 minus 36 is negative 18 plus our 5 makes there. So that's just kind of working through that stuff. So let's take a look at what we want to do here. What's first? Well, first we have to multiply. So 2 times 6 is going to make my 12. 18 plus 12 makes, what's that, 20, 30. So 30 is my answer there. We added and we multiplied. Another thing that kids mess up on is we try and do too much in our heads and we don't just rewrite things. So many mistakes are made throughout the year just rewriting things badly or not rewriting them at all, and therefore making mistakes in your brain. Please, please, please take your time, rewrite things nicely. Alright, what are we doing first here? We're going to do the exponent. So 4 squared gives me 16 minus 2 times 5. I rewrite everything exactly how it looks for stuff that I didn't do. And what are we going to do second? So first we did that 4 squared. Second we're going to multiply. Going to do 2 times 5 here. That leaves me with 16 minus 10. No, that negative sign did not go away. It's still here. Do not lose your negative signs. Lastly, we need to subtract and get our answer of 6. Oh no, it's fractions. Our first encounter with fractions. But we need to remember fractions, they're just numbers too, man. They look a little different. They may be harder to deal with, but if I dealt with you kids that way, there'd be a lot of you that I would just ignore and pretend didn't exist the way you do with fractions. So just because they're a little bit different than the other numbers, we still need to treat them just the same. So first we need to multiply, and when we multiply fractions, that's the easy stuff because we just do top times top, 1, bottom times bottom, 12. Now, once we've multiplied, now we need to do our addition. The addition is what's harder because our bottoms need to be the same. We need a common denominator. What do I got to multiply a 6 by to make it into a 12? A2. So if I'm going to multiply the bottom, I always have to multiply the top. So this whole thing becomes 2 over, now 2 times 6 is 12, plus my 1 over 12. Now, it's pretty easy. I got 2 twelfths plus 1 twelfth. Well, 2 plus 1 makes 3 over 12. And lastly, we've got to simplify our fraction itself, and we think about what do we divide both of those by, but a 3. 3 divided by 3 makes 1, and 12 divided by 3 makes 4. So 1/4 is our answer. A sixth plus 1/3 times 1/4 comes back to being 1/4. Who'd have thought? That's kind of weird. Your answer was sitting right there and you didn't even know it. Alright, so big old crazy problem here. So I would suggest give it a try on your own to see where it is that you make a mistake. We're going to work through it here anyway. But what are we going to do here? First, I'm going to start on the inside. I'm going to work through my parentheses here. I'm going to do these ones out here too. So 3 plus 7 makes 10 times 2 plus 8 minus 3 is 5. So here we've got to add those next. 10 times 7, and that equals 70, and that's nice. All done. Alright, evaluating our expression. We got a bunch of crap on top and bottom, and we have to plug in numbers. We need to make sure that 7 gets plugged in, not just for this x, but for this one as well. And what are we going to use when we plug in? Parentheses, because they're awesome. All over 7 plus 5. So again, what are we going to do here first? We can kind of treat the top and the bottom of our fraction as if they're sort of separate things. So I can do my 7 plus 5 down here on the bottom and get my 12. And that's good. Bottom is simplified. We're good to go. Top, though, we need to do our 2 multiplies first. 7 times 14, what's that, 70, 80, 90, 98, minus 9 times 5 is 45. So now we need to do our subtraction on top, and that's what, going to be 53 over 12. And this might scare you, but is there anything that goes into a 53? Not a 4, not a 3, nothing. So we're good to go right there. Do not, please, 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 in this class, do not go ahead and take this and make it into a mixed number unless it's a problem about cooking or some other kind of thing that is specific to those types of numbers. Leave your improper fraction. Changing it or writing a decimal is just doing more work to make it a little bit less perfect. Improper fractions are awesome things. Leave them alone. Alright, so my x becomes a 2 and my y becomes a 4 squared. What are we doing first here? We are multiplying on the inside. So I'm going to get 2 plus 12, and don't forget my square on the outside. Alright, next we're going to add our two guys here in the middle. That makes 14 squared. And lastly, we take care of that 2 on the outside. Our square, 14 times 14. 1, 9, 6. Sweet. All done. Alright. Last one here. I think you can give this one a try on your own. Hit pause, give it a try, and see if things work out the same way that I'm going to do them here. Alright, so we got negative 4 times 3 times 2 plus 8 times 1/8. Now I know this is written this way because it's a little bit easier when we're typing stuff up in a Word document or whatever. But please, please, please always write your fractions vertically like this. It keeps a whole lot of things in order and it saves you making mistakes that you don't even know you could do. I promise you, it'll make your life better. So we need to do our 2 multiplies here on the inside. I got negative 4 times 3 times 2 is 12. And what's 8 times 1/8? One way to think about a fraction, like our 1 and our 8, is your top number is your multiply number and the bottom number is your divide number. So 8 times 1 is 8, divided by 8 is 1. Just your bottom number is just your divide number, so it's 8 divided by 8, cancels out basically, leaves you with the 1. Add these two here in the middle. Negative 4 times 13 now, which is going to equal... Why did I write a 12? That... Oh, man. You guys sat there thinking, what is wrong with this guy? 2 times 3. I did 2 times 6 in my head. I am very sorry. That is a 6. And 6 plus 1 makes 7. And so negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. But that's why we show our work, so when we make a stupid mistake like I just did, you can figure out where it is. You kids are always erasing everything, like you need to erase and erase and erase. Alright, so simplifying our algebraic expression, just doing the same type of stuff we were doing right now. We're collecting like terms. We cannot put things that are not numbers and numbers together though. So here, the 5 and the 6 we're going to add together, so we get 2k plus 11. We cannot put these together, do not put them together. Alright, here, I like to circle things that are going to go together. My negative 5m and my plus 1m here is going to make negative 4m. That leaves all of these other guys. 4 minus 6 is negative 2, plus 4 is 2, minus 2 leaves with 0. So this is really my answer here. All your normal numbers together and your things with the like variables together. Number 10, doing a little distribution. You're going to take that 6 and multiply both things on the inside. 6 times 5 makes 30 m's, minus 6 times 3 is 18. The other trick that they do here is they put this negative sign right here. We've got to make sure that we multiply both of those things by our negative 2. So negative 2 times 3 is going to make negative 6m, and negative 2 times 6 is going to make minus 12. Now I put these two together, what's that, 24 m's, and my negative 18 and negative 12 together to make negative 30. Dunzo. Alright, these last few things here are sample CCSD questions. These are all stuff that you're going to see on your semester exam and therefore on our tests as well. So I'm going to just kind of quickly go through here. 3/5, it's real, it's rational, so we're choosing C. And these last two, I think you can plug them in on your own and see what you're going to get. I'm going to just quickly work them out so you can see what's going on. So there's your steps here. We plug in, multiply, subtract, 2 negatives make a positive. Alright, and we're going to quickly go through this one. And there you have it, doing your distribution, making sure that we take that negative sign with us and multiply both of those. And that's all I got for you. Make some good choices out there, and we'll see you tomorrow in class.